Welcome to The Road Less Traveled with Tiffany Rosenbaum. This podcast is about sharing the success and failure of entrepreneurs. Join in and learn from others' mistakes so you don't have to go through the same hardships in business. Now let's welcome your host, business coach, real estate investor, and proud wife and mom, Tiffany Rosenbaum.
We are so excited to have you here today, Kara, and to hear your story because I see what you're doing on social media and the expertise that you bring to the market. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and we can go from there.
Well, thank you for having me. Excited to be here as well. And I started back in 2016 and I started flipping houses while I was working full time. And I think there really is something to be said for try it out while you're using your full-time job and basically use your full-time job to fund your side hustle. And that's exactly what I did. And so I started flipping houses for the first 3 years while I was still working full-time.
Oh, wow.
And during that time, I also bought a rental property. And on the last house that I was flipping, I hired the subcontractors, paid them hourly to teach me how to do every single thing. Because I thought if I'm going to dive into this full time, I need to be able to walk onto a job site with full confidence, knowing what I'm talking about, knowing how the true cost of things, how long something should take. And so many things come from doing something hands-on.
Oh, yeah.
So that was pivotal. It was probably my least profitable flip, but in the sense of a monetary value, but it had so much value in the sense that that had so much education wrapped up in that one flip.
Did you have to pay them more for them to teach you then?
I did. And
Okay.
I was paying them a higher hourly rate than what I was making at my W-2 job. Oh. So I was like, we have to get this house done. I mean, it was costing me a small fortune. And I just thought I can't keep both feet in, a full-time job and the flips. And so that was the flip where I said, okay, this is it. And took a huge leap of faith and quit my job, finished that flip, and dove in full-time.
Was it scary to pay them a higher rate? You go into a flip, things can change rapidly if you're not careful.
Yes.
And so you're paying them a higher rate, and you had faith to pay them a higher rate that you'd still make money on this flip. Did you end up making money on the flip then?
I did end up making money because at that point, the market was just so well that it was almost the longer you had the property, the more you were going to make. Because by the time you were exiting, the value was so much higher. So thankfully, I had that working in my favor. But if I didn't have that, I mean, it was so expensive to do it that way. And during the time, I started to regret it because it was costing me so much money. However, I think that because I did that, in hindsight is 20/20, and without doing it that way, I don't know if I would have quit at that time. And so, that could have been the biggest decision, and I'm glad that I did it that way.
So what job were you in? What was your main job at this time?
So at that time I was working retail.
Okay.
I was in a retail job.
Okay.
Which was killing me because I'm such a creative person.
Yeah.
And so I just thought I cannot be in this position another year from now. I'm not using any type of creativity. And that's ultimately why I started flipping houses, because my real background, my trained background was in patisserie and baking. So I was a pastry chef for years.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And so I was doing that for years, and that was during the economic recession. So I was at a restaurant for 2 years. It would close. I would go to another restaurant and it would close. And that is, very long story short, how I ended up in retail.
Okay. And then you went to retail and then you got into real estate. But how'd you find you wanted to be in real estate? Because you had a job. How was it like, I think real estate or flipping would be a great avenue to make more money? Where did you learn that?
So that was the key thing. It wasn't about making money. I needed a creative outlet. I needed it so badly. The pastry field was just no longer a passion of mine, but I was a huge saver. I was always from a very young age, my parents said, if you want a car when you're 16, you're going to have to go out, get a job, work, save your money, and buy it yourself. And although I resented them at the time, it was one of the best lessons they've taught me, because ever since I bought that car, it teaches you, if you want something, work hard, practice delayed gratification and you can achieve it. And when I went, the whole goal of going to culinary school was to open up a bakery. And so for these 10 years, I was saving to eventually open up a bakery. And even though that passion went away, I was in the habit of saving. So when I was at my retail job, I was there for 5 years. I think I bought my lunch maybe 3 times. I mean, I would pack my lunch every single day. I drove the same car for 12 years. And it was just this art of saving money. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I had saved up enough money for a down payment and to do a full renovation. And so I basically thought maybe I can do to a house what I used to do to a cake. And for me, it was a blank canvas. And I was able to qualify for mortgage because I had a W-2 job and I had saved up enough money for the down payment and the renovation. And so that was the link between the two careers. But I never imagined how profitable it would be flipping houses because I didn't know anyone doing it. But for me, it was just, I needed that creative outlet. And
so you
I found
learned
that
on your own?
Flipping houses. Yes, every single thing has been a learning lesson. From the ground up. I mean, when I started, I've never worked with a contractor. I didn't know how to analyze properties. I didn't know how to analyze my renovation. I had no idea what things would cost. But you do one house, and that's kind of your springboard to figure out, okay, this is what this house cost me per square foot to renovate. And this is how much the GC charged. And then you learn how to analyze. And I would have done it a little differently looking back, but
hindsight is 20/20, right?
Hindsight is 20/20.
And we know more now than we did then. So, was every one of your flips, have they all been successful?
Knock on wood, I have not lost a penny on any flip thus far.
Okay, that's actually very impressive because in this market, or even any market, there's a lot of flippers that do not make money on their flips.
I will say now, once I learned how to analyze, I was very strategic on the properties that I took on. I had a very tight zip code that I stayed within. I knew my comps very, very well. If I had a budget for the renovation, I never went over that budget. Even if I had to pull back in certain areas, the budget is what it was. I planned for contingencies, so that the numbers are really important. And even though the design is fun, now, this is a business, so.
Yes. Now, hiring contractors, bringing them onto your team so that you can do the renovations. What have you learned from the first day you did it to what you do now to make sure you have the right contractor? Because I had an investor that came to us and he had multiple contractors walk off on him with $10,000-$20,000, and so that's why I started my own. But what have you changed from the first one you brought on to the ones you bring on now?
So I've had quite a few contractors that I've worked with, and what I learned, unfortunately, is sometimes the contractors are only as good as their last job. And I think that is why it's so important to have a number of contractors that you're constantly using. I don't use the same contractor for every single flip because I also want them to know that I am price comparing too. I think sometimes, from my experience, I feel like contractors feel like they know they're going to get the job with you. And so they'll up prices a little bit. And so I'll have to say, these are the other quotes that I've gotten. Do you want to match it? Do you want to come down a little bit? And oftentimes they will because they know it's consistent work. Mm-hmm. But also having a very clear expectation of the payment structure. When are they getting paid? I will always hold 10% back upon final completion. So I've had contractors say, well, we're pretty much done. Can we get the final payment? Absolutely not. Because it's so hard to get them back for the blue tape walkthrough. Mm-hmm. It's so hard for them to have their crews come back for little paint touch-ups and who knows what it is. So holding that 10% back is vital. Also, making sure that everything really is written in the contract. Everything. I mean, I'll even have them hang mirrors and towel bars.
Oh,
There's been projects where, we didn't account for handyman type thing. So it's really just reviewing the contract, having a payment agreement, and sticking to it.
Can you tell me about a time that you had a contractor that you had issues with?
I can think of several. the first one that comes to mind was actually the first project after I quit my job. And it was, to date, the most nightmare project. So the first item on the contract for the contractor was to pull permits and architect draftsman fees. And I was paying these fees, assuming that permits were, that is, that's on me now, but this was the first project that we did where we had an addition. And so it was the first project that we pulled permits and had draftsmen involved. So we're about 4 or 5 weeks into the project. I'm not sure how far along we were, maybe a little further. And I got a text from the contractor saying we got shut down by the city because we didn't have the right permits pulled. So not only were we shut down from, it was delaying work, but it was my first hard money loan. So I'm paying the highest amount of interest that I've paid thus far. And the city said, well, everything was done incorrectly. So now we have to redo the brand new concrete. We have to redo framing. We have to redo plumbing. We have to redo electrical.
So that gets expensive.
Very expensive, very fast, not to mention all the time that was wasted and now the time that we still have to spend on this. So the contractor said he was basically trying to charge me another $40,000 to correct all of this. And I said, if we had pulled permits, all of this would have been done correctly from the get-go. So if you can prove that you, in fact, pulled permits, I'll pay, because I knew he didn't. And so I said, I'm happy to pay for things that would have been added on anyways. For example, we needed to add some amps to the breaker. We needed to add hardwired smoke detectors and a few other things. Happy to pay for that. I'm not paying for things that were done incorrectly because you did not pull the permits that you paid me for. So ultimately, we agreed. I said, again, if you can find where you pulled the permits, show me something, I'll pay. But until then, I'm not. And so we finished the project. I did not pay. The permits were never pulled. And that was a huge lesson to not solely rely and believe that the contractor is in fact pulling the permits. It's easy to go on the city assessor's website and see what permits were pulled.
But that's a learning lesson. But also it taught you to make sure you stayed on top of the contractors. Because so many people are like, hey, I hired a contractor, right? They should do it all. But it's not like a one and done, you leave it. It's you got to look over it, make sure things are happening correctly. I mean, especially when you're doing additions. I mean, it can get really crazy really quickly.
Yes. And one thing that really saved me, I remember he was charging me for 3 footings. But at this point, I was showing a lot on Instagram. And so I was always in there filming.
Smart.
And I remember thinking, we only had 2 footings here. And so I go back to the video and I said, no, we only have 2 footings.
Oh, that did save you a lot. Because footings are not cheap.
No, that
They're
is very expensive.
That's
so
amazing.
I filmed everything before, during, after.
And that gives a lot of proof. Then you can go
Yes,
through
yes.
and make sure it's proof. So can you tell me about a time where you felt like your back was up against the wall with money or anything?
Yes. So I was in the middle of 2 projects at the time, full rehabs. And my wholesaler calls me and he says, I have a great deal for you. I said, that's great. But I'm working on the last house you just sold me and I have no more funds available to do another flip. And he said, no, you're going to love this. This is the perfect project for you. It's in your zip code. It's the bed bath count that you like. And I thought, well, there's no harm in looking. Big mistake. So I walk into this house and on all of the previous houses that he sold me, it was just him and I doing the walkthrough. So if I was the one that said I want it, it was just a $10,000 non-refundable check and it was done. Well, there were several investors walking this and I said to him, well, if multiple people want it, how are we going to get it? Because at this point, I'm like, yeah, I do want this house. So he said, well, we are going to draw cards on the back of a contractor's truck bed, just a deck of cards. And whoever gets the highest card wins the house. When I say wins, you still have to pay for it.
Yeah.
But you get to buy this house. And so I thought, well, the chances of me drawing a card, the highest card out of, there are now 12 investors that wanted this property, are pretty slim. So I'll draw a card. So and it's 11 guys and me. And the first guy puts down his card. It's like a 2 of spades. The second guy is like a 7 of diamonds, and they're all low number cards. And I have the card slapped to my thigh. I'm scared to death to turn it over. And I'm the last one to go. And I just hold up the card before I put it down. And it's the Queen of Hearts. And he's like, you won. And my stomach dropped. I honestly, at that point, didn't even know if I had $10,000 to pay for this non-refundable down payment. And I looked at my bank account. I had $12,000. And he's like, okay, well, we're going to follow you to the bank to get the check. And I was just sick. I felt sick to my stomach, but I thought, I know this deal makes sense. I know the area. I know the numbers. The house I was renovating was less than a half mile away. So that would have been a comp. And I thought, if I can raise money, I can make it happen. But I had 7 days. And this was over the holidays. So I'm losing days because Christmas, the banks are closed. New Year's Day, the banks are closed. And I went to everyone I knew that had ever said, oh, if you find a deal, we'll give you money. And I found very quickly that that's such an easy thing to say and a lot harder for people to actually execute on. And at the very end, I found an investor who said, yeah, I believe in this deal, we'll do it. And that was my first partnership.
How many people did you have to call, reach out to try to find someone?
Gosh, it was quite a few. And I even remember the first couple that I went to, they said, and they were one of the first people that were constantly saying, let us know if you have a deal. We'd love to partner with you. And the first thing they said was, why would you get this deal under contract and not know how you're going to fund it? And I just thought, well, you will never be my partner.
Yeah.
And but I probably went to 10 or 12 investors. I mean, it was everyone I knew at the time that said, we'd partner with you. But luckily, one came through. That's all you need. And I've done several partnerships since.
That's amazing. But you didn't give up after the first no. And that's what people need to realize. Like, you're going to get no's. People are going to say, no, it's not a right fit. Keep going, go down the road and find someone else that fits right.
Absolutely.
You know? So who would you say is your team to make sure everything goes smooth?
My team is pretty small right now. I wear a lot of hats, which I'm trying to change, especially this year, because I know that's needed for growth. But it's me. My mom is my real estate agent, and so she helps find deals and sells all of my projects. And I think a lot of other key players are like my escrow officers, my other agents that bring me deals, the wholesalers, my insurance. I mean,
that's huge.
Huge. So a lot of key players outside of within Beckmann House, but definitely help
part
to get
of your team.
Part of the team, absolutely.
You know, without contractors, they wouldn't go up. Without the insurance, you never know what's going to happen there.
Right.
You have to have all those people. But did you ever go through a time where you had to change out team members, whether it's the contractor, the insurance, the escrow people, because they weren't doing what you wanted or how you wanted it done?
Still been with the same escrow team since I've started. They've been
That's
amazing.
That's awesome.
Insurance, I actually just changed last year.
Okay.
And this was a huge learning lesson for me. I had a great insurance rep that I had worked with since the beginning. And I have rental properties. And my property manager said that there was this one property where I had a roof replacement done. And the tenant was moving out. She said, do you want to renew their lease at the same amount? Offered the tenants to renew the lease at the same amount. Or what price? Here's the prices we're thinking if we put it back on the market. And something told me, go back and look what the current mortgage is. It had doubled. It went from
the mortgage.
The mortgage.
Oh my gosh!
I'm sorry. The insurance had doubled.
I was like, wait, hold up here.
So the insurance, the yearly premium jumped up to $6,400 a year. So I called first I called the mortgage company and they said, well, it was the insurance. So I called my insurance company and they said, well, it was the claim. It was from the roof. I thought, this is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So I sent every single policy to a different insurance company. I said I need equal or greater coverage, but nothing less. And I had 8 different policies that we changed and drastic savings for the same, if not better, coverage, which helps bring the mortgage down, which helps improve cash flow without raising rents. So that was like a huge eye opener for me. Don't be complacent, just constantly be comparing rates because it doesn't cost you anything to do that, but it could save you a lot.
It can save you a whole lot. I think what you said there is very important. I think with your contractors, how you said you have to bid them out, make sure they stay competitive, insurance companies, because if you're not auditing them and they don't feel like you're auditing them, people get complacent. That's part of human nature, right? So it's important that we always look over. I had this exact same experience this year with my insurance. I went in and I was like, that rate's just not acceptable to me. So we always bid out every year with a few different insurance companies.
Right.
Because it's like, I want to make sure that people are looking and making sure that it's not just easy just to, hey, here's your policy. Right. No, what's the best deal out there? Mm-hmm. With the best coverage. Now, right. One thing in real estate, I find people that they do, sometimes they'll skip a little bit on the insurance, and I'm like, no, don't skip. Mm-mm. It's not a matter of
policies in place, like absolutely not skimping on coverage. No, not worth it. You have one lawsuit, and it could potentially take out everything if you're not properly insured.
I love that you said you had an umbrella, because a lot of people are like, oh, that's where I can save. I'm like, no. Insurance is not where you save, because it's not worth it. If it wipes everything out that you've created, it's kind of sad, right?
Yeah.
So I like how you explained your team. What if someone wants to get into the flipping industry? What would you tell them?
I would tell them start networking. That's what I wish I had done a lot sooner. You learn so much faster. You learn from the mistakes of other people. I love Bigger Pockets. I'm a part of that community, and it's been so great. That's where I found multiple partners that we've partnered on fix and flips. And there's great lenders in that community. There's great agents in that community. They have so many amazing meetups. And Bigger Pockets is one of thousands. But get involved with a community that fits your goals and that there are people in that community that are where you want to be. I think it's really important to not only surround yourself with people who are on the same path, but having someone that you can, sometimes our problem seems so big because we've never done whatever that thing is. But you tell your problem to someone that is so far advanced, they're going to say, that's so easy. This is what you do. And it just feels like, oh yeah, I really did make a mountain out of a molehill kind of situation. And so surrounding yourself with people who are more advanced is super important.
Oh, I agree with that, because something we haven't done, like you said, it seems like a mountain, but with someone else that's already done it, they're like, no, do it like this. And it's like, oh, wait, hold up. I can do it just like anybody else. It just takes a little bit of time. And networking's huge. What do you say? Now, you're huge on Instagram. I see what you're doing. Explain a little bit about your Instagram and what you're doing there and some stories behind that.
So I started the Beckmann House Instagram because my friends didn't want to see the flipping houses. They didn't want to see that on my personal page. And so I just wanted a page separate where I really could show my before and afters. And there was no strategy behind that. It was really just to have my own little resume. And the more that I was doing a lot of DIY projects, especially earlier on, and some of those videos just completely took off. And that's when I realized the power of Instagram. When you have a video that takes off, you have so many more eyes on your page, and those eyes can be potential clients. They can be potential partners or lenders. So many of my clients, probably 90% now, have come from Instagram.
Oh, wow. And that's a big return then on your Instagram.
Huge. Absolutely huge. I've had 2 clients hire me from out of state. So they lived out of state. They bought a second residence in Scottsdale, and they had been following me for years. And so you develop this trust with people. They see that you're on job sites. They see how often you're checking in. And so through that alone, they said, we feel comfortable. We want to hire you. We started demo. We were all the way into demo before I ever met the clients.
Oh, wow.
So Instagram is huge. And I think for any business nowadays, it is vital to have social media presence. It's the first place people go.
They do.
To look up a company, a person, and that's your track record.
Social media is, it's definitely a game changer in the world today.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people that don't think it's important, but if you look at the businesses that are growing, They're on social media.
And they have teams.
Yes.
Just dedicated to social media.
Do you have a team behind your social media?
I do. So for the longest time, I didn't want to let that go. But I had to. There's so much that goes into it, that video editing. And now tomorrow I have my call with my social media, one of them, managers. And we're going to go through a whole month of content. And then we do a full shoot day the following day. And there's a lot of work, and there's definitely days where it's, you're so busy, and I think, gosh, this is taking up so much time, but I have to, I'm signing contract with another client right now, and she found me on social media a few years ago. So it's like the work that you put in today might be a huge payoff a few years from now. And so it's just showing up and being consistent is so important.
Yes, and what people don't understand is social media is not an overnight game. It's the long game.
Yes.
And that long game shows trust because you're always there.
Right.
And so, like you said, it brings clients. That's amazing. What would you tell anybody that needs to understand or learn more about real estate?
Gosh, that it's cyclical. We've been so fortunate to have such a great run in real estate. And it was like you couldn't mess up. You were making money. Agents were everyone was making money if you were in real estate these past few years. But that's not how real estate is meant to go. And so I think if you can stick with it through the ups and the downs, that is truly how you will be successful. And I think if you look at it as a long play game, they're not all quick fix and flips. Some of my best returns are long-term rentals that I'm now renovating and doing 1031 exchanges on. And that is that's why people get into real estate. It's for the long-term wealth, not these quick fix and flips.
Yes.
So I think if you can analyze it, does this make sense today? Maybe it's not a big money maker today, but if I hold that property for 5 years, what does that look like? And I think even if it makes sense today and you're not making a lot of cash flow, just to be able to buy in, prices will still go up. We're going to look back on this 10 years later and think, gosh, it seemed so high back then, but if only I could have bought houses in 2024. If only.
Hindsight's 2020. And I love what you said right there. We're going to look back on today when everybody says prices are so high. And in 10 years, we're going to go, I shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yes.
And I think that's key is what you said. So many people are like, why would I buy real estate when I can only make $300 or $200 a month on it or whatever?
Right.
It's because you're building equity. You're building generational wealth. You're building this wealth that continues with you. It's not a quick fix. It's not a quick dollar. It's how much can I get over time?
Right.
And realizing that. I love that you said that because on social media, the market, the news, you hear about interest rates are so high, it's a horrible time to invest. I'm like, no, it's a great time to invest. It's just you win, and you win when you buy, not when you sell.
Right.
Anyway, if people can understand that, that's everything.
And also, you can overcome fear with math.
Yes.
So even interest rates can be at whatever point they are. But if you are still in the net positive, that still makes sense as a long-term hold.
Yes. Mm-hmm. When I first started doing real estate and we were buying holds, it was interesting because my first interest rate was like 8%. It was like 7.5 or 8%. And everybody right now is saying, oh, it's so high. And I'm like, I don't care what the interest rate is. What you said is really good. It's the math behind it. Do you know how to analyze it, and does it work? And it's a yes or no. If it works or not, it's not, oh crap, insurance or interest rates. It's math. It's just math.
And you don't always get cash flow and appreciation. I mean, that was something rare. That was just another thing that we were so lucky to have. But now, I mean, it's a long-term rental, you do need a bank on the appreciation, and cash flow is a bonus. I mean, I would never recommend buying something that's negative cash flow, but to your point, if it's $200 or $300, I would take that all day long to have that appreciation and to have the asset.
When I first started, even now, I'll buy a property that's break even. Mm-hmm. I'm like, because I know what it's going to do in the future.
Right.
Like, I'm not buying it to give me all this cash right now. That's not what real estate is.
Right.
It's more about, okay, where's my game plan? What am I going for? Where is it going to give me in 10 years, 15 years? When we first started, we were buying properties that, like, literally even a little bit of negative, if the management fee would take care of it. But it was like, what is it going to do for me in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, you know? I like that you spoke to that because not a lot of people speak about that. Like, it's not a matter of, I'm not buying the real estate to give me a bunch of cash flow today.
And a lot of people want that, though.
Yes.
They think, oh, if I buy all these rental properties, I'm going to have so much passive income. And it's just not the case.
I love that you said that because on these social media groups, they're like, oh, this is going to get me this much cash flow. I've had so many reach out to me and say, hey, will you help me analyze that? I'm like, you're wanting how much a month? Because that's not reality. Because you have to budget for maintenance. You have to budget long-term or fix and flip. You're budgeting, and the budget is what's huge.
Right.
And every property, if you're an A, B, C, is all going to determine something different.
Right. Even right now, I have this rental property. I've had it for 4 years now. I have to do a full roof replacement this month. That wipes out the full year of cash flow. The full year.
And people don't realize that.
No.
But again, why did you buy it then?
I bought it because of having that appreciation. That property has so much equity in there. That's my bank. I mean, if I wanted to do a HELOC on it, so I can pull out that equity now, use that for fix and flips, put it back into that property. I could even renovate it more. I did minor renovations. But if I wanted to do a full gut renovation, I could sell that, do a 1031 exchange into a larger property. I mean, it allows you to scale at such a faster rate. And so, yes, I will not be making anything on that property this year. However, you know, that now we have a brand new roof that's going to last 20 years. That does add value to the property if I go to sell it. But yeah, that happens, you know, to landlords where you don't make a penny on it.
I love that you said that because, like, when you look at stock market, people put money in the stock market, it goes up and down, they leave it there, right? If they know what they're doing. And some reason in real estate in today's market, everybody's like, oh, I need the cash now. Like, I go on all these groups and I'm like, you know, it's the long game, guys. It's the long game. It's not today. It's the long game. And I think that's what people have to go back to and understand, that it's not today. And what you said is, after 5 years, you can sell it, put it into a 1031, and get a bigger property. So all of a sudden, we did that back in, we did that with a 6 unit and turned it into 100 units.
Yes.
I mean,
that's the beauty of it.
It is. And that's what people don't understand, you know. But I love that you spoke on that because you do not see that in social media. You don't hear it.
Right.
But it's the truth.
It is the truth. And it doesn't have to be after 5 years. After 2 years, you could do the 1031 exchange.
You can.
Yeah.
So you do long-term rentals and you do fix and flips.
Correct. So I love having multiple streams of income. Mm-hmm. I have fix and flips, I have long-term rentals, and I have client projects. And so I love being able to kind of not only figure out what do I want to do, it gives me a lot of freedom. Mm-hmm. If I do want a lot of cash, that's my fix and flip route. That gives me the highest return. It's also the highest risk. Mm-hmm. Client projects are wonderful. They're a lot more work. There's a lot more work involved, but that's steady income and it's guaranteed income. And then we have the long-term flips where, like we were just talking about, those are a long-term play. Has great value just having the assets alone. And so when I was first starting, I thought, how do people buy rental properties? I need cash to buy the rental properties. And that's when I learned how to refinance, and also goes back to delayed gratification. I wouldn't spend money when I flipped a house. I would save it till I had a down payment, bought a rental property, did more fix and flips, saved the profits, did another down payment on a rental property. And so for years, it was just this practicing delayed gratification to build up your portfolio. You can't have it all. You can't have the nicest, newest everything, spending all of this money, but then also want a large rental property when you're first starting out.
No, I totally agree. I remember when we started, we were on food storage, and we were on food storage for a year while we were getting into real estate. I mean, we had no money. But it was like anything that came in from those rentals, they stayed there because it's all about being able to grow that portfolio. Right. like you said, when you're starting, you can't have it all. You have to choose. Do you want what's best later, or do you want what you want now?
Right.
And delayed gratification is a huge part of building wealth. Tell us where people can find you on social media. I know you mentioned it, but I want you to mention it again so people can find you, because I love your Instagram. You do a fantastic job.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It's Beckmann House, Beckmann House on Instagram, and that's definitely where I'm the most active.
And are you doing fix and flips right now?
Yes. So I have one on the market right now, and then hoping to do a few more this year for sure. The one that I'm currently renovating, or the one that's on the market right now, it was a rental for 4 years. So this will be a 1031 exchange.
Okay.
So that'll be exciting.
And are you taking on new partners?
I'm always open to taking on partners. Always open. If the deal makes sense, if the partnership structure makes sense, absolutely.
What does your ideal partnership look like?
Well, for all of the partners, I really prefer them to be completely passive. So I am the boots on the ground. I'm doing the full design, managing construction, doing all of the legwork. And then they would come in as the financial partner. And then we would split the profit as we would see fit.
Okay. And do you give them financials as the project's going?
So they have access. So I'm constantly updating our budget tracker. Gotcha. So at any given point, that is updated, if not daily, weekly. And so they can log on at any given point and see exactly where every penny is being spent on that project.
Nice. Well, Kara, we really appreciate you coming in. I love what you're doing. I think you're so much different, and you do such a great job on your work. But thank you for coming in, and we appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in today to The Road Less Traveled. If you're organizing an event, workshop, or simply planning something exciting and would like to have Tiffany Rosenbaum join you, or want to have her on your podcast, visit TiffanyMRosenbaum.com and click on Book Tiffany to get started.